Hey, this is Josh from Cattle Decapitation. You're watching CMS TV.
It's redreign right here on your classic metal show with Chains. And just before that, we heard Kiss. I Was Made for Loving You. That goes out as a dedication to our good friend Sal. His mother passed away 5 years ago this month, or this week, as a matter of fact, back when we first met him, Chris.
Wow. Sorry to hear that.
And then we heard Wasp with The Raging Storm. Our own Shelly Rocks finally going to see Wasp this week. So she's
cool.
Stoked about that. And talking about stoked, we're stoked about having our good friend Sammy Lee from the band Redreign joining us here live in the CMS studio. So what's going on there, Sammy?
What's up, Neely? How are you?
I'm well. For a guy that is involved with bands and audio and shit, you would think you'd have a mic.
Well, we just went through, Neely, 15 minutes of trying to get the fucking ear pods going, but they just didn't want to play tonight.
I got to tell you, the last couple of weeks, your show's been nothing but fuck Sammy. I know that. I mean, God, first the accountant and now this. And I was going to take off my glasses I showed Chris this. I was just going to hold this up because this is what I used to look like.
Nice.
But I'm not going to do it. And by the way, before we get started, if you don't mind, I actually have a issue I want to get off.
Oh, an issue?
Okay. If you don't mind.
All right.
I got this dickhead neighbor who keeps playing Bruce Springsteen. So I called the police the other day. And police did nothing about it. So
you son of a bitch.
I knew that was you.
How you guys doing?
Good.
We're good, Sammy. We've been kind of waiting for a while to be able to bring you on the show and give the fans a taste of this disc, because it's almost been 6 years since you did the EP.
Yeah.
True.
He sort of looked like that other picture last time he put out new music.
It's been a little while since some new music's come out. But I will tell you this though, well worth the wait with this album though. This album was well done, and I know, being involved in it, we all say that, but you guys heard it. I mean, it was a lot of writing, a lot of changing, different things and chords, melodies, everything. But the guys in the band hit the home run. I do no writing. I take no credit for that. So. Right. Bubba is the majority writer with Stevie and Larry adding in their bits, and those guys knocked it out of the park along with David Ivory. So
right.
Very excited about this.
Well, Bubba, I think that we all can agree. I can't speak for Chris, but I'm sure he'll be in agreement. But Bubba should have been a bigger front man than what he is now. I mean, he is a talented guy and a great singer and a good has a great presence on stage, and obviously he has the talent to write good tunes, good lyrics and things, and it's a shame that he didn't have more of an opportunity to be bigger than what he's accomplished so far in his life.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, I love the guy. We I won't go into the backstory. Bubba and I have known each other since '87, and
so you're the one who's been holding him back.
I have been holding him back.
Hold that picture up again, Sammy. Since '87. There they were in '87.
Bubba and I met on a date one night.
Right.
But he really is. All the guys in the band, with the exception of the drummer, are very talented. But Bubba is, the great, I tell people this is really the great thing about Bubba is he sounds the exact same live as he does on tape.
I agree.
Very powerful voice. You can understand the vocals, understand the words. And I'll be honest. I know he's listening. I would never say this to his face, but I'm just happy to be along for the ride with him, to be his drummer. So.
Well, I got to be honest with you, Sammy. I mean, you and I corresponded for literally a couple of decades without meeting one another face to face. And I mean, I only met you 5 years ago, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
5 years ago, face to face. And I mean, we'd been corresponding since I think like 2000.
Yep,
It's
been crazy.
So it's been a long time, and I'm glad I know you as a friend, and I'm glad you're doing music, because when you sent me the Seth stuff and I listened to that, and then you were going, yeah, I'm not doing music anymore. We're not doing that. And it's like, well, why are you not doing music? And then 15 years later, you put together redreign, which includes Bubba again. And the little bit that you have done with the Chasing Shadows independent release, and then re-recording with David Ivory, releasing the EP, and now you got a full-length disc here that you're going to be offering up here soon. I'm glad you guys are doing what you're doing, and the fact that you've also been able to get out on the road a little bit over the years, mostly with Tesla and opening for Lita and Quiet Riot and, various other people. It takes a lot of dedication.
Yeah, it does. Thanks. I appreciate it. Just to go back to your point, I wouldn't have done a band without Bubba. I mean, that's just, that was it. I was done. And we've talked about the story 1,000 times about how we were in Seth, and towards the end of Seth, there was a song that we had sort of written. It was an original. And I might not have this totally right, but I believe most of that song was either redreign or Not That Way. That's what it turned into. But
you mean your boss hit bounce?
Our boss, we recorded 16 times Not That Way, that Chris loves to point out every time. But and we actually have the Japanese version coming out next month, Chris. So
fantastic.
Yeah. So, but. When I decided to do this, just a little background for those who don't know, Bubba and I did this, and then we were fortunate enough to find Larry, and we brought Larry in, and for a while we were actually just a 3-piece band. So that's really what Chasing Shadows was. And then when we, again, I won't bore with the whole story, but when we got to David Ivory, I always liked 2 guitars anyway. Bubba and I disagreed on that one, but and that's when we were lucky enough to get Stevie. And it really, it's rounded out this band. This band, I have been fortunate enough, and you guys know the story a little bit, but for the 99.9%, this band, we get along great. We are excited to play the music that we play together. It's fun. It's just a fun time. The road trip that we take to a gig is fun. Playing the gig is fun, and then, as you all know, we drive back at night, which is fun. So,
right.
It's always a good time with these guys, and I enjoy each and every one of them, and glad to be a part of it.
Sure. Well, Sammy, listening to the record, and Neely and I have listened to it a bunch of times. It's different than the last that everybody heard, which I think is only normal considering the gap in time. You guys all. You played a lot of gigs together, so you're naturally going to find a closeness to, or a musical closeness that maybe you didn't have previously, and you're just going to grow as people. Six years between recordings, it's going to sound different.
Sure.
For you guys, it sounds different to me anyway. It sounds different without sounding too different, where it's like, hey, it's a new band.
Sure.
Sure. How much effort did you guys have to put into A, growing, but B, not growing so far that it felt like you were doing something that the fans wouldn't get?
Sure. That's a great question, and I can only answer it by none. We put no thought into it. And I know that sounds funny, but, Bubba just writes to write, and then he'll come in and he's got this idea and we just play. look, we're a little bit of an older band, as y'all know, so our influences are what you guys play. We all know what I like, which is Van Halen. These guys have their bands that they like, and so everybody brings these kind of ideas into the band. We play what we like, what we like, which sounds good. But in saying that, you're right. The songwriting and again, I know Bubba's listening, and Bubba, don't take this the wrong way. The songwriting was great on the EP, but the songwriting has taken about 10 steps up, in my opinion. It's matured. It's a sophomore album. And it's a little more hard hitting because a lot of it was written over COVID. So
Right.
He had more time to polish. We had more time to get in a room and sort of polish parts, our each parts and stuff. And then once we got to David, and the great thing about David is so awesome in arranging, but he arranged a lot on the first EP, but I will tell you on this one, he did a lot of arranging, but not as much as the first one. So we're starting to get there that we don't need the producer every single step of the way.
Sure. How comfortable is it though to take this guy that has, Grammys and, has the plaques on the wall to prove it? How comfortable is it to say to him, no, we're leaving this vocal this way, or we're leaving this drum part this way?
Absolutely not comfortable at all. If you ever know David, David is such a great guy. All of us have got this great bond with him now. The first time we were a little intimidated because of that.
Sure.
The first one, but he's a very easygoing guy. The one thing about David is, it's like, we're going to do it this way. And then maybe you might say, hey, hit the machine. Let me try a track and see. And so he's very open to ideas, but I got to be honest. The way he takes some of the songs, and I'm trying to think of a couple that he took. I mean, he goes in the right direction, because really he has the ultimate say, because that's how when you're doing this, you have to release what you think to a guy like that instead of saying, well, you're wrong because I really want to play double bass as fast as I can this part. And he's like, hey, dumbass, that sounds like shit. Well,
Right.
I know it sounds like shit, but I'm the drummer and I want to, so he knows when it's not enough or when it's just right. And so we trusted him on this one. We all just said, you know what, David's the king. This is what we do.
Right.
Well, you almost didn't work with David on this,
Now, we always wanted to work with David. What had happened was we after the first album, we didn't talk to David a lot anymore. And David, I don't want to speak for David, was going into some different things. And so we had kind of thought David was out of the game. So we had been talking to another producer, but David was always our first choice. And when we found out he was willing to do the album, we ran right back to David because it's such a great working relationship with David.
Right on. With the new record, obviously you did work with David. You've got it together. If I had a place to pick, and I mean it's just my place to pick at it.
Go ahead.
I would rearrange the songs a little bit.
Okay.
Like there's I don't even know how to explain it. It's either fast and mid tempo then fast again, and
Right.
I would probably rearrange it a little bit. That's me, and you know what? That's the joy of having one of these. I can, I can once it comes out, or, I can rearrange it any way I want.
Right.
For you guys, what kind of efforts did you guys take to sequence the record? I mean, does everybody, do you give it to everybody and everybody says, well, put this song here, or do you take all of that, or does Ivory do it, or who does it?
I did the track listing.
Okay.
Along with, so David has an associate producer. He works with a guy named Joe Lamb.
Okay.
Joe is awesome. Joe. And so Joe and I, Bubba and I did, I showed my list to the guys. A couple of guys were like, yeah, hey, whatever you want to do. Bubba and I were tinkering back and forth with a couple of them, but there, believe it or not, there is a method behind the madness of the why,
Okay.
where I sequenced everything. But I had Joe look over it, and I had spoken to David, and David's like, well, Joe's really good at this. So I presented to Joe and said, hey man, make changes. And Joe's like, man, I think this is it. This is the way to go. And you're right though. But but the reason why I started with the first song was because there was sort of an intro to the first song instead of
Sure.
4-count hi-hat.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
so it does go a little bit, but I think it's a wild ride that you go on this album.
Sure. So are you saying, and I'm always curious about this from bands, are you saying that everybody in your band doesn't care as much about the whole entity as a whole? They just care about the individual songs being good?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
Okay.
So the way that the band's been set up since day one is I run all the business part of the band.
Sure.
I'm the one, obviously, with Neely and you. When we talked from the get-go, you guys helped me. Neely has helped me, get with Chip, and I deal with Chip. I deal with David, and now the guys do too with David. I mean, we all talk when it's time to record, but
Sure.
all the business stuff is arranged through me. Whether I do all the speaking through Chip, so I'm the
Okay.
middleman between Chip and the band, David and the band, so on in the band, and so on. Those guys care about everything, and what we do is, even though I sometimes I don't even think sometimes, I don't think I've done once, but ultimately the decision will come to me. But it's a 4-piece band, and every move that I make, everything that I do or think it's great for the band, we discuss before it's ever made.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But when I say those guys don't care, they were like, hey man, we trust you. It wasn't like, hey, I don't give a shit.
Right.
Only my solos first. I don't care.
Right. Just make sure I get a copy of my name spelled right.
Yeah, right. Which we misspelled everybody's name from what Neil. Thank God for Neely. He found it. So.
Well, speaking of being, running the business of the band, you run the business of your own, and you're a family man. You got a wife and kids, and the other guys got their, families and so on and so forth. How does traveling to Ivory Studios and maybe going out on the road and being able to play some gigs and stuff, and obviously there's a cost involved with running the band, because being in a band that's profitable these days is few and far in between, unless of course you're Metallica or something. But how does that square with everybody's families and significant others? Does anybody get any static or blowback, or are you going to go gig this weekend? How come you're doing this record? What's the purpose of that? Does anybody, I'm not asking you to name names, but does anybody get that kind of guff from anybody?
To my knowledge, no. No, the good thing again about the guys in the band, and we've talked, and the families, and everybody's behind us. I mean, my wife is behind me. I know Bubba's wife is behind him, Larry as well, and Stevie, his camp's behind him, and so. But as you guys know, I mean, again, it's not like we're on the road forever. We'll play Erie, Pennsylvania, and drive back in the hat, drop of a hat. So it's not we're not gone for a long time,
right.
So, but no, they, the 2017 is really when it kicked off. That's when we met, Neil. It was 17.
Yeah,
it was the first Tesla tour. So we were in Fort Wayne, Indiana, then Cincinnati, then Grand Rapids.
Yeah, I mentioned Grand Rapids.
And then we drove back to Richmond the next day, and then back on Thursday we had to be back in Pennsylvania, and then back to Richmond was the whole tour. Tesla took some breaks, then hit Pennsylvania, and then we finished the tour. They played here in Richmond, and we opened from here. So everybody's been behind us. It's been very supportive. So we're lucky.
That's excellent. Well, let's talk a little bit about the record here, Sammy. I mean, when did you said that a lot of this was written during COVID and so on and so forth. Was any of this say some older material or some older ideas that were, say, laying around from previous songs that were written, or is this all brand new stuff, or how did that all work?
There is one song that is old. Yesterday, you have heard, obviously you played that. But when we put out Yesterday, we knew that was going to be on the new album. But we did use one old song. Other than that, everything is brand spanking new.
Excellent.
And I mean, their ideas, they were ideas that we have come up with, but no, nothing on tape or anything else. It's ideas that we've tinkered with for last couple of years. I mean, I've got a folder of songs that we've tinkered with. I mean, I've got a whole folder of I've got a whole folder of another album that we could do. And Bubba's been telling me he's already writing for the next album. We didn't even play the damn show with this material. And he's fucker's a writing machine.
Yeah.
I can write all day long, but we still won't hear that one until 2034.
No.
So
I mean, I'll be talking to you guys from an old age home in a wheelchair talking about our new album. So
obviously, the one thing that you guys wanted was, working with a name, and George Lynch does a one of the songs. He plays one of the songs with you as far as like playing the lead guitars on a song, which is what?
Which song?
what song? Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I know what it is. I
know you know. I'm sorry. Don't look back. I apologize. The title track.
Right, of course. And what was it about?
You gotta cue me, Neely. Cue me.
And go.
No, that's right, Sam. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And what was it? Where did the thought process or the decision come up that you wanted to have a main guy, somebody in the, a name to do a little debut on your release?
Sure. And you were very instrumental in that, by the way. And so we owe you a debt of gratitude for that.
You don't owe me anything. All I had to do was say, hey, George, I got a friend. He wants you guys.
No, I know, but still. It's a long and boring story, which both of you all know, but I don't want to bore everybody else. But when COVID hit, like everybody else, let's see, everything shut down, I think, in like March of 19. We had just gotten off the road with Tesla again. We had another run with Tesla. We did a show with YNT. We had some pretty big shows coming up, and like everybody else, stopped everything.
Right.
And from 2015 to up to that point, again, the band tight, solid, no problems. But when things aren't happening, and then decisions have to be made about certain things, and to be honest, one of them was whether we continue or not. I wasn't sure, because you're sitting for a year on the sideline, and we were doing, in the realm we were in, we were doing well. Again, not Metallica, but we had some good press and some good stuff. And you wonder, and it goes away, and you wonder, can you get it back? And do people really give a shit? And so a lot of thoughts going through my head were, what do we do? And, the guys were getting kind of ornery about certain things. And I just said to myself, look, if I'm going to continue, and we knew we had new material, I think the first thing I thought was a guest singer. Like how actually I thought, I don't know what it was. I was couldn't sleep one night. I kept thinking, how can I make an impact again? And I remember a conversation, Neely, you and I had. God, we probably had this conversation, 10, 15, probably 15 years ago. You were telling me about George, hey, he was playing on some people's albums, and I don't know why that popped in my head and why I remembered. And so it just popped in my head that, you know what, I'm going to ask Neely. And here's the funny part before we discuss this is I didn't tell anybody in the band. I didn't tell Chip. I didn't tell anybody.
Nice.
So you were the first person I called to see if this was even possible.
Sure.
And, the great thing about Neely was, hey, man, I felt like I had to butter him up a little bit going, hey, how's it going? I mean, Neely's been you guys have been so good to us, and I feel bad just asking. But I said, and we kind of talked, and I said, hey, man, I got to ask you a favor. And if you say no, I'm cool with this shit, and it doesn't matter, and all cool. But what do you think the thoughts are of George, asking George to play him a song, and this was great. Neely's reaction was done. That was pretty much the extent of the conversation. Like, you sure? He goes, well, I'll ask him. I'm going to be seeing him, but done. We'll get it done.
Sure.
And, but that's the thought process was, how can we sort of, with the new album, which again, I think it's a killer album. Some of these songs are killer. But how can we make an impact right off the gate, right out of the gate again when we do come out? So that was my thinking behind the George Lynch thing.
Sure.
But, and I waited by the phone, like a girl getting ready to be asked for the prom every day till Neely called me. So he called me with good news, which was great. And it worked out beautifully.
Good.
Sure. So how does it all work out to get him on the song? Do you send him the tune, or do you say, this is what we're gonna need? We're writing the song. I mean, where were you at in the process of the song when you actually talked to him?
We were in pre-production in Richmond. David came down to Richmond about 4 times, and we have a studio that we use here called Darth Fader Studios, which
Nice.
is awesome. That we've been working with those guys. We actually mentioned them on the album because they've been so great to us over the years. But we were in pre-production, and so again, nobody in the band even knew. And then I had to tell Chip because once Neely made that connection, how are we going to get in touch with George otherwise to get this done? So Chip had reached out, got George. I was copied on the email, and he was more than welcome to do it. And so we told him that the song would come to him probably, let's see, I'm trying to think like in a month or two. And, we were told him we were in pre-production. We told him the dates that we were going in to record, and he was like, cool, just when you're ready, let me know.
Right.
And that's what happened. And then we went up, we recorded the drums, the bass, and got the guitars down. And I get an email because I was copied on it, says, hey man, where's that song? I'm actually leaving for Germany or something. I need to do it before I leave. I'm like, shit, it's not done. We have scratch vocals. But we send him that. The song was 85% done at that point, 90% done. The final vocals were, so we sent him the song and he played to it.
Very cool.
And
and it's when you do work with that, how, I'm especially where you really didn't tell people what was going on within your band. How does Stevie and Bubba take to that? Are they like, wait a minute, why do we need a fucking guest? I know he's a name, but so what? Those guys are, I'm quite sure they're not wanting, they're never going to voluntarily say, well, yeah, let me just step aside and let somebody else into the band. No?
Yeah, I didn't give a shit. No, that's not true. No, they welcomed it with open arms. You guys know, in today's world, a no-name band like us, you got to do anything you can to get people's attention.
Sure.
And they're on board with that. They know it. They were both very excited. I at that point they knew when we sort of in the middle, right as we started pre-production, they kind of knew. They knew. I told them that, hey, one of y'all's being replaced on a song, and they're like, what the fuck, what the fuck you talking about? Like,
Right.
Well, I got a little guy named George Lynch coming in to play a tune, and they couldn't, to be honest, they could be more ecstatic. They're as excited as I was when I heard the news that George was going to do the song.
Sure.
But,
and I would imagine for them, Lynch is one of those guys that, especially Stevie, Lynch has got to be one of those guys that Stevie has looked at forever and been like,
yeah.
shit,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, top 5 80s guitars? Is that
That's
that's
fair.
So I will tell you this story. It's funny, but so I was sitting at my desk being an accountant one day, as y'all like to know. Sitting at my desk one day, and I get this ding on my phone, and it's an email, and that's when the email came in and said, "Hey, I've got to do this song, so and so." I'm like, oh, and I'm panicking, going, "Oh shit." So I text Chip and say, "Hey man, George, did you see the email from George?" Nothing. So I'm like, oh shit. Text David, "Hey man, did you see the thing? The email from George? George needs the song,
Right.
Nothing. I'm like, what do I do here? And so then I start calling. Nobody answers. So David finally calls because he's in the middle of something. He goes, "Look, you just talked to him." I'm like, okay, that's probably a mistake that I talked to him. So I start talking to George and via email, and George is like, hey, can I call you? And I think George thought I was the producer.
Right.
And so I said, yeah, you can call me. So I give him my number. And to be honest, I don't get starstruck a lot. And I don't get that. But I mean, and I'm not even a goddamn guitarist. I'm a drummer. But I'm on the phone with George Lynch. Right. And I'm like, oh, man, this is really cool. And he says, hey, I mentioned Neely's name. Like, I'm the drummer of the band. Neely's our mutual friend. And he's like, okay, what is it you want me to do here on the song? And I said, I think I kind of fucked up a little bit. I don't think David was all that happy, but I said, well, we got you to play the lead. He goes, well, do you need anything else? And so I just said, hey, man, look, George, you've done this all your life, man. Do whatever you feel. You guys have heard the song. He's dancing from note one to note N.
Right.
And, but I thought that was a funny story. And then I get this, why'd you tell him to do that? I needed this. I was like, well, you could have called, and so,
yeah.
But it was great. But I think the tune turned out great. And I got, that's the other thing too. My thinking was, if I wanted George Lynch, I wanted Dokken prime George Lynch. And I think we got that in this song.
Sure. No, I agree. I mean, it's definitely a great performance from George. It's a great song.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to probably be the bad guy here. I'm going to say it's not my favorite song on the record, though. And I know you guys named it after, but
you're not the only one, though. I mean, David doesn't think that's the hit.
Yeah, I don't know about hits or not, because I really don't know what that even means anymore today.
No.
But I mean, for me, it would either be Darkness of Pain or No Peace, No Love are probably the two that I swing back to over and over again, to just deeper. And I think it's probably more of a Bubba thing. Yeah. But Bubba's just like, he's pissed.
Yeah, he is. Darkness of Pain, he's not a happy dude, man. He just David thinks it's Here I Am.
Okay. That's another good tune. That one's way more catchy.
And unfortunately, people haven't heard it, but the reason why that tune is so it's a heavy tune, because it's about and I don't want to go too much into it because nobody's got the album, at least for a while. Right. But it's a song about a little bit about COVID and a little bit about depression and and mental health, and basically saying, hey, look, man, that's not the way out. There's a friend here for you. And that's all I'll say about it. But it's a heavy tune.
Yeah.
You see, it's funny because the guys in the band have a different opinion on the EP. Everybody loves Not That Way. I think Red Rain's the best song, because I just like that 0 to 60 punch. And Don't Look Back is the same for me. I'll let everybody else decide. But for me, I mean, it's pumping from beginning to end.
Just gonna put this comment. Hold on, Neely. Put this comment up.
Uh-oh.
Why are they interviewing my dentist?
I'll see you in the office Monday.
That's pretty good. Well, Sammy, I don't know if you have an answer for this, because I know you're going through some negotiations and whatnot, but do you have any kind of a idea when this is going to be released? The album is going to be released. And do you have any plans or anything on the table as far as like promotion is concerned, or any way that you're going to get out there and be able to play this live anywhere, or is that still sort of in the planning stages?
Everything's still in the planning stages. We do have one show on the books, which is May 27th. We are playing at Dr. Pepper Park with Kicks. So we did do a very, very limited run of the CD.
Okay.
So we will be selling that. We had a friend of ours, and I'm careful to say this, that is not associated with anything Red Rain as far as website, anything else, because our old website's gone. Chris is doing the new one, but a friend of ours has started an official fan page on Facebook, and it's actually doing fairly well. She's running a contest. We're going to give her 2 CDs, so she's going to get it. So we're slowly getting out there. I'd like to say by September this will be out.
Okay, very cool.
Sooner, but I think that's probably the worst case scenario.
All right. So we're going to have to wait for 2 records in September.
We are writing. Apparently, Bubba's writing for another one already. So I don't know. Maybe it's a double album. I have no clue. But no, it's we're very excited about the process that we're in now. Obviously, we can't say too much where we are in the process of certain things, but it's exciting. The one thing that is lacking, I wish would pick up is, and it was funny. Chris got me on the Seth Williams show, and they were saying, "Hey, man, anytime you want to come up here, we'd love to see you." I have to let people know it's not up to us where we play. We would play anywhere. I've got a couple emails. Hey, you coming to Texas? You coming to Kansas City? We would love to play all those places, but
sure.
Ultimately, it's not our decision to book a show. So that's another field we're working on to book more shows.
Right.
Question from the chat. Are you taking pre-orders yet?
We are not taking pre-orders as of yet until we iron out some of the things that are in the things that I can't talk about.
Right.
But if you stay tuned on our Facebook page, which is, obviously Redreign Band on Facebook. We're on Twitter and Instagram are the same. And coming soon, the Chris Aiken made.
It's almost
website.
there.
It's
like
almost there.
it's like 80% done. Just now we'll have our business meeting. It's 80% done, and it looks fucking spectacular. It really looks cool. I just have been, trying to build it with one hand is taking longer than I would have expected. But
dude, I haven't called you.
No, I know, but I would like it to be done and and be posted, since you have a big white page up on your as your current site. So I hate seeing that, but
I need to give you anyway. We'll talk about that later. But I got some photos. You probably need some.
Yeah,
photos
I could use that.
We'll talk about that. But but once we get that, so whoever's listening, just stay. Really, Facebook is where we get comments all the time. I answer every single comment, or Stevie will answer it,
sure,
or Bubba. One of the guys will answer. So anything you need, or I'll give the email is redreininfo@gmail. If you have any questions, we try to answer everything we can. But no pre-orders as of yet. But
okay.
I think this is going to come a little faster now. But I gave you worst case scenario.
Sure. Another comment. Damn, Sammy Hagar looks terrible.
Easy, fucker. I'm a Raw fan.
Let me ask you this, dude, and this is a band one that you can dodge if you choose to, but if I'm not mistaken, and I could very well be, you guys are at the spot as a band where you have the first lovesick member of the band with Stevie. And I feel comfortable I'm not exposing anything because he puts it on his Facebook every freaking day. So it's public out there. Does that cause any, guff reaction? Do you have to kind of say, I know you love the girl, but this is the band and that's the girlfriend stays on the girlfriend side, or, because that is, I know we're talking about it kiddingly in some fashion, but let's be honest about it. When you bring in a girlfriend, and obviously Stevie's way more than girlfriendy with the girl, that can cause a problem with a band. If there's a weird chemistry or if she's in his ear saying, you should be bigger than that fucking drummer guy. You should get more say. You should, I mean, I'm not saying I don't know this girl at all. I'm just saying that could be a scenario. Sure. It is new to you guys. Is it something that you've even considered?
No.
Okay.
He keeps his separate life apart from the band, just like the rest of us do too. I mean, Bubba's married, I'm married, Larry's married. So that's, his Facebook page is his Facebook page, mine's mine.
Right.
I mean, if you go to my Facebook page, it's either Redreign or Van Halen. And and people are fucking tired of me talking about Van Halen, but I don't really give a shit. So, so no, not at all. And I met her Stevie's birthday, and wonderful girl. And she's as supportive of what he does in Redreign as the rest of our spouses. So
okay, Very good.
And then I could have given you the standard answer. That'd be a question for Stevie.
Yeah, there you go. Or I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know her.
I don't know. I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah, I just play drums here, man.
Yeah. And as those guys will tell you, they don't think I play very well, so that's fine too. So
Yeah, but every time you're on camera, you have the right shirt on, so it's all good with us.
I know you fed. I got to tell you, you fed me shit about that too. Is there no end?
No.
Neely, I know what it was. It was the video we put out in the studio. So I thought, you know what? We knew that we were going to get some footage. I was like, you know what? The guys always support us. We're going to support them. I remember the segment was, you said, "Oh, there's Sammy Lee. We're in the classic, metal show." And you said, "Does he wear anything else?" I'm like,
Right.
can't win.
No.
So I'll let you know that my new gig shirt for the Kick Show will not be a CMS shirt.
There you go. Eddie Trunk shirt.
It's I actually have many, but I have a Lucky Van Halen, and my wife and my daughter for my birthday got me a new Van Halen shirt. It's usually a Van Halen shirt.
Right. Very good.
If you're a betting person, bet that I'm wearing a Van Halen shirt behind the drums.
Nice.
Well, Sammy, is there anything else that we haven't touched on that you want to tell the fans about the record or your upcoming gigs or any kind of future plans or anything like that? Have we covered everything, or is there something else you want to let the fans know?
I think we've covered everything. I just, in all seriousness, appreciate you guys, your support, because really, and I know I say this and it sounds kind of jokey as not. And I want people to understand you guys were very instrumental in getting us started, and we've never forgotten that. And everything we do and all the interviews I did and other like magazine and stuff, I always mention you. And I did a radio interview and I said, "Can I mention somebody else's radio show?" They're like, "Well, yeah, I did it anyway. I didn't care." But I can't thank you guys enough for being as instrumental as you were, again, getting us with Chip and George and, Chris getting some interviews and Neely, you've been there from the beginning. And so I just want to say thank you very much for everything that you guys done. And the other thing was we had sort of been talking about like, hey, if we play the song, where do we play it? And I was like, no, that's not how it works.
Right.
It goes to the CMS first before it goes anywhere else.
Nice.
Other than that, no. Unfortunately, again, there's not a lot to talk about. We're in the final stages of where we hope to be in the next month or two, and then that's where the news will be out. It'll be on our social media. All I ask is for people who don't really get into the newer music and or not the newer music, but all originals, because people love covers. Just give us a shot. You don't have to like it. We don't care. And I just love to hear people's feedback. So if you're listening, go to our Facebook page. If you like this song, the couple people that we have heard the song have really, really loved it. And again, my favorite. So
there you go.
Perfect.
Very good.
All right. Well, the forthcoming release is called "Don't Look Back," and the title track features George Lynch on guitar, and we're going to debut it right here on the Classic Metal Show. Chris,
all right.
Where's your
first time play?
Right, exactly. And when that new website is up and running, what is the web address?
Lemonparty.org.
The guy who's doing our website won't answer my phone call, so I have no fucking clue.
What is it? It's just Red Rain.
Red Rain Band.
Redrainband.com.
Red Rain Band. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, there will be a brand new website and a brand new CD soon, and we have the exclusive here of playing the brand new song. So everybody who's tuned in right now, you're going to get to hear the brand new Red Rain. So Sammy, it's always a pleasure. You're always welcome on anytime, as
Thank
well
you.
as the rest of the guys. So if the guys are listening, hey to everybody in the band, and we're proud to play this song. So
there's Bubba right there.
Here it is. It's a brand new Red Rain featuring George Lynch on guitar, exclusively here. What, Sammy?
On your Classic Metal Show.